absolutely amazing. That was a lot.
I mean, after having to deal with life, it can be a lot.
Life has smacked us both in the face this week, but hey, you know what? We're still
Yeah.
standing. So we're still standing better than we ever did.
We need
So
to make a Spotify playlist with all the songs you sing,
it's
like every
mostly
season
gonna
of this podcast.
I've already made one. It's every single song that has been a lip sync on RuPaul's Drag Race. That's basically every song I sing all the time. So it's
I
okay.
love it. I
Just
love
find
it.
that. There you go. Anyway, hi guys. I'm Lisa, aka the OG Nocturne, and I am of course have my wonderful, fabulous co-host here.
What's up, guys? This is Lauren, and yeah, I'm feeling gay in this Chili's. This is a great time.
We are talking about the trial of the century, ladies and gentlemen. This is, like everybody just, the courts are packed. CNN, everybody is reporting. Anderson Cooper can't even stop. Rachel Maddow, everybody's talking about it. It is the trial of Magneto, issue 3. I don't even know where to begin. I'm just so.
I think a good place to start is just the fact that spoilers for the last issue if you haven't read it, but it's been long enough, I think. Wanda is not dead or she's back or something like that. Either way, we have a Wanda. A Wanda. But who is this Wanda?
Yes. So, for a little recap of what happens in the issue, and spoilers be coming from here on out. So, anyone who is not ready for this, just, get out of here now and come back later. So, spoilers be happening. So basically what happens in this issue essentially is Wanda comes back, immediately gloms onto Vision and is like, my husband. And he's like, oh, listen, I'm still grieving my wife. And she's like, oh, wife? And she's just very confused, clearly has no idea what has happened in the past however long, of her history. And meanwhile, everyone around her is trying to figure that out. As that's happening, Jean-Paul shows up and is like, hey guys, by the way, I know that this Wanda's back, but there was still a murder, which means there is still a murderer among us. And just because we solved it, or just because she's back, that doesn't mean that someone didn't murder someone and that, something like justice must be done. But he's also like, at the same time, Kyle is also making a roast, so y'all can come and like have dinner with us, Avengers, too. We can have that too. So that happens. During all of this, while all the men are like, how do you solve a problem like Wanda? The women are like, let's get together and we're going to try and give her memories back. But they do like a best of, but it's not a best of, it's a worst of. They give her all of her worst hits, like Decimation.
We're gonna talk about that because that's what the heck? We'll
Yeah,
talk about that.
it was just like what memories should we give her? Like she's a woman who like had a lot of pride in being a mother and a wife, and that was all she really wanted. What memories should we give her? Let's give her all the memories of like killing all her friends and family and then decimating a race. Those are the memories. Like, oh my god. Anyway, we'll get to that.
Wild.
Long of the short, this is becoming a very long recap. So long of the short of it is, through this manipulation of Wanda, these 3 kaiju show up that now everybody has to team up and fight. And in the process of fighting, Kyle's dinner is shelved. We'll talk about that in a second because that is a whole thing for me. They go to fight the kaiju, but on the astral plane, on another plane in the afterlife, there is another fight going on between Wanda in the afterlife and this is unclear to me. I feel like some people are saying, no, this is who killed Wanda, and I don't know that this is 100% clear, but who is revealed to be Old Lady Wanda. So now there are 3 Wandas, 2 in the afterlife, 1 here in 616. There is no one at dinner with Kyle. The roast is totally gone to waste.
Poor Kyle.
There are still 3 kaiju out there running amok. So that is essentially the meat of this book. I personally loved it. Part of it is because I felt very vindicated because I've been saying for weeks that we're going to end up in a crisis of infinite Wandas, and I am so happy about it. Give me all the Wandas you got. I'll take it. But what did you think?
I love that. I I mean, one, this event feels filler to me. Scarlet Witch has become a very popular character in the comics, and the multiverse is totally a thing in the MCU, so they're maximizing this stuff in the comics to correlate with all that going on. Totally get it. But yeah, like again, like they're like, oh wow, Wanda's dead. Oh no, the start of this, and now it's like, oh look, she's already back at the end of issue 1, and it's just, or whatever, and it's like, And then this one, like I like kind of like, I like the whole like, oh, like multiverse and there's another Wanda and stuff, but like again, there feels like there's no stakes to me, but also that's just what happens in canon comics, so I really can't properly criticize that, I feel like. I mean,
Yeah,
I liked the humor in it, and I liked, the whole Kyle silliness, and there are a couple other jokes here. I'm not a fan of mixing the Avengers and X-Men. That's not to say I disagree that the Avengers need to be there. They do, because it's Wanda. But also, I don't. The X-Men are better than the Avengers. Go away. I'm tired. Take a nap, all of you. Like, I
I'm
don't
gonna
care.
I'm gonna disagree with that in one way. I'm gonna throw a wild curveball at you, and I think I might convert you to wanting to mix the X-Men and the Avengers. How can you possibly not ship a Kyle Jean Paul Captain America thruple after this? After this and the Hellfire Gala. Like, Steve keeps asking about Kyle every time he sees JP. Every time he sees JP, he's like, how's Kyle? What's Kyle doing? Every time. And then JP's like, oh, Kyle's making a roast. Kyle, are you guys stay for dinner? You guys should stay for dinner. You know. Like the minute Wanda was murdered, the first question out of Kyle's mouth was, oh, are the Avengers coming? Like the body wasn't even cold, and Kyle is like changing the sheets because he knows the Avengers are coming.
See, I don't need the Avengers to get Steve. Steve can come anytime. I'm fine mixing Steve. I don't need the whole team of the
Okay,
Avengers.
fair,
I don't
fair,
need the
fair.
Avengers.
I'll take it.
I will
Fair,
take Steve. I'm with you on that. Steve
fair.
is welcome anytime. Absolutely, he should come every time. That's
All
what
right,
she said, anyways.
Steve, you are welcome on Krakoa in the thruple. In the thruple, you are welcome on Krakoa.
Yeah, facts.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love it. I, ever since the Hellfire Gala and that one little thing, and then this, it just feels like the writers are slipping this in as just little Easter egg, and I'm dying every time I see it because I will go down with that ship. I love it so much. But just going into the issue, the issue kind of starts with Wanda has no idea what's going on and she's terrified. And I don't know, as a woman reading it, it's like she's surrounded by a bunch of men who are like all making decisions for her all of a sudden. And she's just like, someone just needs to, okay, can someone just slow down and explain to me what the fuck is going on? Because that's all I need in this moment is just someone to explain to me what's happening. But instead, everyone's talking over her and
I
around
mean,
her, which
and
is what happened to her whole character.
right, and imagine, like, okay, I know as a woman, that's one of my worst nightmares is having men control me and make all my decisions for me, and I don't get a say. And that's
Mm-hmm.
literally a reality that, we deal with every day is men either doing that or attempting to. And yeah, that sucks.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, so that's happening there, and then you can see in the issue like the water is churning because of that, and then the two women come in and say, "Well, let's see what we can do," and then they're like, "Well, let's just show her all the shit she's done. Let's show her how
Right.
awful she is."
And
And
that's no better.
no, exactly. It's just it all goes to shit. I do love though how like you know everybody kind of sweeps under the rug. I don't want to jump too far ahead in the issue and kind of keep it chronological, but like um everybody does kind of sweep under once Wanda shows up alive, everybody kind of sweeps under the rug like the fact that there was a murder, and everybody's like, hey, she's alive, this is great. And John Paul is the only one who's like, guys, there's still a murderer here, which is totally valid
Well,
because
it's
attempted murder is still a
no,
crime,
it is.
everybody.
There, right. There's still a crime and there was still an attack, like you said. But it's wild to me because yeah, like everyone was like this whole entire event was literally just get Magneto, get Magneto. That's what's called Trial of Magneto. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, here's Wanda, and then all of a sudden like, don't care about me, Magneto, whatever. And it's just like, why is this called the Trial of Magneto? And now the story, as you mentioned in the recap, is going towards Wanda and about old lady Wanda or multiple Wandas and stuff. It's like, why is this called Trial of Magneto?
See, there's like you said, there's still a lot of mystery in this that we haven't heard. And so, for example, when Rachel and Jean were talking about stuff like you know like Magneto's sample from Cerebro, and like that the council didn't vote this, but Charles said to do it. It's like,
Yes.
but who sanctioned what and who decided what? Because what we saw, what we read, was very different from the story that they're telling now. Because, like, we did not, that is not the Charles Xavier that we saw, like. And from what we saw, we saw Magneto working behind the scenes with Hope. Then all of a sudden we see that Jean and Rachel are in on it, and then Jean and Rachel make it like seem to make it seem like Xavier was in on it. So then, like, who wasn't in on it? Like, why'd you even have a vote? What
Right.
was the purpose of the vote if you were just
I
going to do it
mean,
anyway?
and to me, I didn't even read it as directly blaming Charles because that he's not directly named as an issue by anyone, including Jean and Rachel, from what I remember. You know, Jean's just like, yeah, well, blah blah blah. Her old, she must have this must be an old Cerebro backup of Wanda that's back, and Rachel's like, but the council, like, I thought the council said they were not gonna resurrect her, and Jean just goes, that's correct, and that's all she says, and I'm like, really? That's it? So, like, I don't even know who to. I mean, we can hypothesize like who's in on it, but like, I don't think there's as much of a direct finger to point still. Like you said, it's a lot of like, what the heck is, where are these dots connecting? Because we have all these dots and we just try to draw a connection. That connection doesn't work, you know?
And the funny thing is neither Jean nor Rachel were at that council vote. So they don't know who voted for what. So they have no idea what Charles actually voted for. They have no idea that he actually voted against it. And he could be playing them like he could. I hate him so much. I just hate him so much. He's the worst.
But
But
what was interesting is that they said after from Jean said, that that's true that the council voted not to resurrect her. Then Rachel, I think, said something about, like, psychically, oh, so I guess now we know where Magneto's old Cerebro backup said. They name Magneto, they don't name Charles, and I'm just and maybe like Charles has them or something. I don't know, but I guess I'm just confused as to how you're
I'm
immediately implicating Charles. You
I'm
know what I
looking at
mean?
it. I'm looking at
Even though
it
I'd
because
love to implicate him because Charles pisses me off and he's a demon too. But like
yeah, well, I'm looking at it because it mentions both of them, because it says Charles warned us that her last backup was quite outdated. So it might not be that
that
Charles
part,
actually knew
yes.
about it. You're right. It might be that Charles, like, that he, like, Charles might have mentioned, like, when they were talking about the idea of bringing her back, like, well, maybe I'm assuming that he's involved and he's not, that they're just maybe, I don't know. But I'm still gonna say, I'm just gonna
Which is
I'm
valid because it's very possible he is.
I mean, it's not like the guy doesn't have a track
But
record
there's
for screwing with these poor kids all the time. So,
oh for
yeah,
sure.
like,
Well, and yeah, that's the whole thing going on with him and Magneto and Moira doing all the other shit that's going on. Like, but again, it's
exactly.
like, why would he do that to Magneto? Because Magneto and him are like, they're obviously like BFFs again, but like, as we all joke, they're like basically married. Like, come on. So like, why the fuck would he throw his husband under the bus like this? Like, what could persuade him to do that? What is it, Moira persuading him for some reason? Like, what is happening if that's the case?
Oh my gosh, I just hate him so much. It's the worst. I just I'm looking at the page where they show Wanda. Rachel actually says, "Let's play her greatest hits," and then Jean says, "As you wish." And now that I'm reading it again, I'm like, I love you, Jean, and I love you, Rachel, and I love you, Wanda. I love all of you so much, but that is shady, bitch. That is so shady to say, let's play her greatest hits, and here's all the most awful things you've ever done. It's like if, okay, imagine it's like if you asked someone to be your maid of honor at your wedding, and she came up for the maid of honor speech, and she was like, "Remember when you slept with my boyfriend?" And then like dropped the mic and walked off. Like, no, like, ah.
I wonder what the writers intended by that, because on the one hand, absolutely, like, looking from your point of view, it's like, oh my god, you guys are like, her greatest hits are the worst. But at the same time, if you think about in reality, what do we as fans talk about that Wanda's done? I never
Oh
hear
yeah.
people talking about her doing good things in comments. All I hear is us fans, like in reality, talking about like, oh, she did decimation. So I wonder if when the writers wrote that, like when they wrote the script, like, and they were like, oh yeah, so Wanda's greatest hits are the decimation stuff because that is what those were the biggest things she was involved in. That's what the audience that's reading this book knows her for. But then you're absolutely right. It's like, wow, like that's really fucked up and like really fucking rude. Like, let her remember her kids. They didn't let her remember her kids who were right there in front of her. And they were like, Mom. And they're like, but that's not Mom. But also that's Mom. But also it's not. Like, what?
And that was the big reason that Rachel wanted to push her to remember, like Rachel was like, she doesn't even remember her kids, and that was what made her like force or convince Jean to do it. Yeah,
Right.
this
Well,
whole
and
scene is very, I don't know. I get it, and I mean, part of it could be like the anger of of the decimation, kind of being like, let's just show this bitch what she's done. But there's also a part of me that's like, I know that. I mean, in some canon, Jean and Wanda had a relationship as teenagers. So, like, I mean, not like a romantic relationship, but like, like a friendship. So, I don't know. It just, and also, I don't like the idea of the decimation returning, that the of I don't like the idea of the memory of the decimation returning to her without the context of House of M and everything else that happened, because the decimation happened because of what was done to her through House of M. Like, oh, that just bugs
yeah.
me too.
And I mean, yeah, again, the worst part of it is that like, I don't think Rachel here is to blame because again,
Oh
like you
no.
said, she said, I want her to remember her kids and stuff, Jean. We need to do this. And Jean said, okay. And then Jean made the call to say, here's all this shit. Like I think that's pretty clear that Jean was the one that okayed it and had most of the influence and power, right, at her level of mutant ability,
I
and just threw
Listen.
those events on her. Like you're right. That's I didn't think about that before you mentioned it. That's screwed up.
Absolutely, Jean's a shady bitch. I love you, Jean. I love her, but she's a shady bitch,
Well,
and
and
it's okay. It's
honestly,
okay to be a shady bitch.
I don't
Sometimes it
well,
happens.
I don't think that's in character for Jean. I think that's fucked up. I don't think Jean would do that. So I disagree with that choice by the writing. Jean would
Fair,
not
yeah,
do
that's very
that.
fair. That's very fair. That's very
Like
fair. I
I
agree
know
too.
people
I
like
don't
to
know that Jean would do that
yeah.
either. I
Yeah, and
totally
like I know
agree.
people like to shit on Jean. People are like, "Oh, it's Justin Gray." I actually really like Jean, and you know what? Jean wouldn't do that. Everybody take a nap. You can hate Jean all you want, but she wouldn't do that. That's not in character.
I love that. Like, standing ovation for that. This is a pitiful clap. It's a terrible clap.
Amazing.
I love it.
Simply amazing.
So basically, I mean, where we kind of leave off with this is like these kaijus just keep coming back. They can't.
Why kaijus? Like, not to hate on kaijus, but like, it feels so random. Like, you could have chosen. I guess people just like kaijus, man. Like,
I
that's what she
think that
conjures up.
I think that kaiju has now just become the term for that kind of monster in the
Like big
zeitgeist.
giant monsters.
The big giant monster that comes out of the sea. I think that's just become the term that is used. Like it was much more niche like 20 years ago. But ever since like Pacific Rim, like I think it's just become
Yeah.
a much more like mainstream term for that kind of monster. So,
Yeah.
I don't fault that. I mean, they look like kaijus, they come out of the sea. They clearly have something to do with Wanda's trauma. And, you know, it's kind of funny. It's like everybody's response to a woman's trauma is let's just smack it and fight it. And let's just,
You're
let's just,
yeah.
let's
You're
fight it. And
right.
yeah. And,
That's some real shit there, Lisa. That's real shit you're saying.
yeah, like I mean, let's not get. I don't want to get too deep. Like this is a positivity podcast, but like it's and I have a lot of faith in the writer Leah Williams. I think that she's doing a great job with this, and it feels good to have a writer, a woman writer handling a character that I love, that I feel like has been kind of given the short end of the stick in a lot of ways. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, the short end of the stick. It's more, I feel like she's been unfairly maligned for certain things that have
Oh, for
happened to her.
everything, pretty much. Wanda in particular,
Oh
pretty
yeah.
much everything. Like you don't even have to be the biggest fan for a character to be like, oh yeah, no, like she's done so many horrible things, but she had reasons for those, like valid reasons. Doesn't excuse her behavior, but like she had legit reasons that need to be dealt with, and it's pretty much always just been a whole like, oh, that's what Wanda did. She's the worst. Like even in the story, that's a thing, right? Where the characters deal with this, and yeah, I mean Leah Williams has done some
Yeah,
trouble with some things in the past as a writer. However, I'm not going to be like, I hate her because I don't. But like, I don't think this event is anything amazing by any measure. However, I do think the best thing they can do with it is how the issue ends in terms of dealing with this other Wanda. I think depending how that's handled throughout this and hopefully in the future, if this continues as a plot and all that, I think that could be really cool.
absolutely. And like I just, you know, I'm gonna throw like a thought out to anyone out there who questions, like, well, Wanda decimated the mutant population. She blah 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 blah. Like she's unforgivable and blah blah blah. Yes. Oh, there's nothing that could possibly make up for what she did. Nothing. Like there's just nothing, right? Nothing. Um. However, and granted, she's not a mutant right now, right? So, but she was a mutant when the decimation happened. All right. So if let's level the playing field right now, right? We're gonna level the playing field, and she was a mutant when decimation happened. So let's judge her when it happened, right? So like if a juvenile commits a crime, or if a guy commits a crime when he's 16 and then he's 32, or like he kills someone when he's 16, he's 32, he still gets charged as a juvenile. So we're going to charge her as a mutant, even though she's a human now, okay? So we're going to do that. Here's where we're going with this. So Krakoa has given amnesty to friggin' everybody, except Wanda,
Mm.
you know? And you can't tell me, again, I get it. Like, this is a woman who lost her children and had a psychotic mental break and then was manipulated by her brother to create a entirely fictional reality to feed the ego of their father for her brother's benefit. And then upon realizing that manipulation, had a second psychotic break, which then led to the decimation, which then of course led to a lot of death. That is unforgivable. I don't, though, see why that is less unforgivable than someone like Sinister, who purposefully like hurt children and like killed people, or like freaking Shadow King is on Krakoa. Like just some of the mutants they have given amnesty. Fenris, they're freaking Nazis. Like some of the mutants they have given amnesty to, and the idea that like a woman who like made a mistake at like the literal worst moment of her life, like we can't even consider it, is just that whole thing doesn't sit right.
I mean, I think the main thing I got from what you said, she was a mutant then. Charge her as a mutant. She was a mutant when she committed that crime. So, as like you said, if all these other mutants, if every mutant gets a clean slate, Wanda has to have a clean slate because she was a mutant when she committed the crime. And honestly, that's some real legal shit you're saying. And I've never thought about it that way, but I agree with that. And at the same, even if that weren't true, I think that's enough, but even more so, like, even before you said that, I originally thought, well, shit. It's like if you send somebody to prison, they admit to a crime, they serve their time, they come out, they deserve to be able to have a life as long as they did the time, they served their consequence, they served their punishment. She has served more than her punishment and more than her consequences. She's out of jail. She should not be able to live her life if she did the time. And
There you
I
go.
agree absolutely with what you said.
Thank
Like,
you.
that's
Thank you.
amazing. I can't believe I never thought of that myself. Like, she was a mutant when she did crime, charge her as a mutant. On Krakoa, mutants get amnesty. She gets full amnesty. Done.
I listen to a lot of true crime podcasts, and one of my favorite true crime podcasts, one of the hosts is a lawyer, and so I live for all of that stuff. So
That's
listen,
no, and
I
that's valid.
I am Wanda's lawyer, ladies and gentlemen. If you have any questions
You
for
should
my
be.
if you have any questions for my client, please send them to my Twitter at simply at the what is our Twitter? Simply Amazing. I don't know, whatever. We'll tell you what the issue.
I was gonna
Uh,
say, I think people should just look out. There might be a mini episode of our podcast at some point where it's just Wanda's lawyer, issue 1 or something.
that's it, exactly. It'll be like Harvey Birdman, attorney at law, except just me talking about Wanda and why you should just love her, and like how
Lisa will
she's
convince you that her defendant is not guilty.
she's not guilty, guys. She's not guilty. She's not guilty. You know what? I represent Wanda. I will represent Britney Jean Spears if she will have me.
Exactly.
Yes, free Britney, resurrect Wanda. Those are the things I believe in. And also, I just want to say my last parting thing before we leave is, old lady Wanda. I don't know about you guys, but took you long enough. I read that in B. Arthur's voice because the way it was drawn, I was like, that is Dorothy Zbornak. If that is Dorothy Zbornak, if that is anyone else, like, oh my goodness.
It's gonna be fun, hopefully, to see that play out. And honestly, even though I'm kind of like, well, if this is the route they take, then why'd you call it Trial of Magneto? But I'd rather see this story go that route, to be fair, than just like, oh, but Magneto did. Like, they still need to address it and figure out what really happened. But like, I don't want another trial like it was in issue 150 or whatever it was of Uncanny X-Men back in the day, where it's like, Magneto's so bad again. He's not. Like, he's still Magneto, but he's take a nap. So I hope they continue with this route. I'm excited to see what the heck happens.
Absolutely. This is going to be fun. And I think we're not done with Magneto. And like, JP's not done
No,
with him. John Paul's putting on his like Paul Hole's blazer, and he's like on the case. He is ready to get him. He's like,
for sure.
John Paul is like following after him, waiting for him to like drop a cigarette butt or leave like something behind so we can get some DNA off of it. Like, he is on the case. He is ready to go. He's Harriet the spying, that kid.
And Kyle is his sidekick that doesn't even know he's his sidekick.
No, Kyle is just sitting at home like, I can't believe I pulled out the good freaking china and I pulled out the prime rib from the freezer that I bought for like Christmas. And now it's just going to be sandwiches because God forbid we all sit down for a meal before going off and, destroying the mind of the unstable woman. Like, could we have sat and had one meal in between, like, resurrecting the crazy woman and then screwing with her mind? That's what he wants to know. That's what Kyle wants to know. He's like sitting there with the beautiful bottle of Camus he opened for this occasion because Steve was finally coming over. And he's like, now it's like, I've got to drink it because you can't, what am I supposed to do? Put the cork back in? It's got to drink the whole bottle now. So
right, exactly.
So poor Kyle. Anyway, guys, thanks for coming over.
Rip Kyle. Guys, even though they're not gonna come see Kyle now, but you guys can come see us on our Twitter at Simply Amazing Pod.
Yes, you can. Please do come see us at Simply Amazing Pod. It's we're missing one A in there, so it's at Simply AMZING Pod. We're doing lots of fun stuff. We're doing some giveaways. We're doing on our Discord right now. We're doing a fanfic challenge and a fan art challenge, and we're going to be giving away some prizes for Halloween. So that's going to be really fun.
Yes. So if you're not in the Discord and such, check out our Twitter. Like we said, the link is there. Come join us so we can talk more about everything we've said here. We want to hear everything you guys have to say too. We don't just like hearing ourselves talk, I promise.
No, please. And if you have something you want to say about it, like, come let us know. If you want to talk about Wanda, come talk to me about Wanda. Come talk to Lauren about Wanda. Come talk to any of us about Wanda. Talk to us about Kurt. Talk to us about anything.
If you want to be the one to try to go against Wanda's lawyer here, if you want to be the prosecutor, come on in. I would like to see it.
Yeah, who wants to be the state versus me? Oof, let's go.
So if they want to do that, where can they find you on Twitter?
You can find me at the OG Nocturne. That is spelled the OG NACHTURNE. That's like this German word, not for night, and then turn. That's where you can find me on Twitter. And where can they find you?
Yeah, at friendly MBHD by. Come bother me there. Tell me who I should be the lawyer for. I would love to hear it. I will accept
Mm.
nominations at this time, and I will be taking resumes.
I'm gonna say Supergirl right now. That's what I'm gonna say.
Oh, don't get me started. This was a Nightcrawler podcast. Don't get
That
me
is true.
started.
That is true. We've already talked about like a lot of other stuff than Nightcrawler, but it's okay. Hey, we're having a good time. And for those of you out there listening right now, if you're enjoying us, rate and review us, subscribe to us. If you like us on Apple or wherever you listen, just give us a little love. We love you back. And for whoever's out there listening, and specifically you, the one right there, you who's cleaning out your refrigerator right now, listening to us, I understand. It's totally fine. I do the same thing. I listen to podcasts when I clean my house. Just understand while you throw out that disgusting piece of beef that's been in the back because your husband decided to go fight some kaijus instead of come to dinner with the rest of the Avengers that he promised were going to come over. Remember that you are, of course, simply amazing.